There's this other element of, of course, the West has done a lot, massive, especially the US, has done and continues to do massive investment, especially these index funds and some of these big funds, invest a lot of money in communist China, despite genocide, despite crimes against humanity, despite all these types of things. But once that money is invested, it's a very different situation than, in the typical, let's say, World Trade Organization system, where you can get that money back. And I'm just wondering if you could explain that.
Well, so when I was in the White House, I went to the Treasury and I said, hey, why don't we change the accounting rules so that anybody that's got, funds invested in China that can't actually extract those funds, we basically classify those as level 3 assets, which means they're worthless. You can have money in a bank. Yeah, that's a level 1 asset. You can turn around and you can use it. In China, if you have money in the bank, there's even a company I remember, I can't remember the name of the company, but one day they had $6 billion in cash on hand, and then the next day they had none.
$6 billion?
$6 billion in cash on hand. The next day they had none. And so that couldn't happen here in the United States, but that does and can happen in China. And so that's the accounting system. And so I said, why don't we change that so that, if you own stock in a Chinese company, you can't actually count it as part of your wealth. If we did that, then now it would be horrible for the people that had stocks in China, because now their net worth would drop precipitously. But it would be great in the fact that the Chinese Communist Party couldn't hold that over their head anymore. They couldn't say, if you do X, I will make sure that you never get any of your money out. And so it becomes a sort of Damocles, to use a quote from Unrestricted Warfare, over the head of anybody that's invested in China. Do you want your money out? Okay, well, you better do what we say. And if you don't do what we say, then we're going to make sure that you don't get your money out. But if you do what we say, we're going to make sure that you can still get your money out at some point. And so when you go and you report this to the IRS or on your 10Ks or 10Qs, it becomes, hey, I can report this because, it hasn't been taken away from me in China. But can I actually get it out? No, I can't. And so it becomes this thing where if you're a corporate executive, or if you're running a fund, you want that not to, that decoupling that causes that, the fact that you can't get that money out, you want that to happen to somebody else. You don't want it to happen in your watch, and because we think in such short term, if I can get out if I can cash out before that happens, great. Who's going to be left holding the bag? Well, in addition to whoever's the last kind of principal in that fund, it's going to be the retirees and the American retirees that have to deal with it. But ultimately, if you invest in China and you have, and there's banks that have, all kinds of real estate investments in China, you can't get it out. There's big corporations that have money there. They can't get it out. It's a non-convertible currency with strict capital controls. And by the way, if you read Unrestricted Warfare, one of their biggest evil villains is George Soros, right? George Soros. Yeah. And why do they think George Soros is an evil villain? Well, because he's a financial, warmonger, right? Warmonger.
Yeah.
He uses finance to destroy nations. That's his goal, is to destroy nations. And what the Chinese Communist Party learned from that is, okay, how do I protect myself from these kinds of warmongers? Well, the way I do that is I don't allow you to convert my currency, right? The People's Bank of China is the only one that can convert. Now, here's what happens. Technically, you should not be a part of the international financial system. You shouldn't be a part of the IMF. You shouldn't be a part of the World Bank. You don't have a convertible currency. Why are you a part of it? Well, because it's China. And time and again, you see these exclusions, or this is China. China gets a special pass. Everybody else, you've got to play by the rules, but China gets a special pass. Until Congress passes you're not going to continue to have your stocks listed on our stock exchange unless you allow for the same type of audits that our corporations have. You're going to be delisted. Until that, you didn't hear a peep out of the Chinese in terms of being willing to allow audits. Now, what are they saying? We're going to allow you to audit our books. You know, they're finally starting to say that. But will they ever get over the point where they will actually allow you to audit their books? No, they're not. They'll say they will, but then it'll never be forthcoming. And you can never extract that from them. I mean, the brilliance of China is to give concessions by saying they're going to give concessions, but not actually giving concessions. There's a difference here. And they do this time and time and time. They do it with, a good example of this is stop hacking into our systems. Okay, we'll stop that. But do they stop? No, they don't stop.
We live in an era of censorship and disinformation, and it can be really hard to know what's true and what's false in this information climate. To get honest information and insights you can trust, join us on Epoch TV. You can sign up for your 14-day free trial at ept.ms/free trial Jan. That's ept.ms/free trial JAN.
Well, or, you know, the example that always comes to my mind, yes, we'll stop taking organs from prisoners or prisoners of conscience. We'll do it, but you don't stop.
But they don't stop.
Yeah.
We'll stop sending fentanyl, but they don't stop.
You would think that we would have figured this out by now.
Well, yeah, if you're doing business with somebody and they rip you off the first time, do you go in for more? No, you don't. But with China, I want more of that. Can I get some more of that, please?
Why?
What I've seen in, you know, almost 10 years of working on this is it's greed, mostly greed. I mean, I've had people come up to either myself or people that work with me and say, I don't really care, as long as I get my money. And that's the beauty of China's system. If they can get you to have no other values or morality except what it means to you in terms of money, they've got you. They've got you exactly where they want you. And you may have the most, you may have the best impression of yourself as a human being. But ultimately, if that becomes, you know, if you have that type of relationship with China, then you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, you know, I've embraced what is the most heinous things that humans can do to other humans, because you're in service. You're in service to the party.